We weren't expecting contrition, and that certainly isn't what we got. We got, as you say, a 90-minute ramble. He said that he was going to talk for 30 minutes based on this prepared statement that he had put together while he was in prison. But the essential, I think, element of it that we can identify is this statement here. He said, "People will understand me one day and see that multiculturalism has failed. If I am right, how can what I did be illegal?" Well, sitting in the court just over a metre away from Anders Breivik as he gave that long rambling statement was the Norwegian journalist Trygve Sorvaag, who works with us here at Sky News. So Trygve, I mean, what was your impression of him?
Well, it was a very strange occurrence. Breivik has prepared this 20-page speech, which in itself is very unusual, because this is supposed to be based on questioning. And he had shortened that down to 13 pages. He promised the judge, and he said to the judge when he started that he adjusted the language so that the families shouldn't feel it's going to be too difficult. And he kept on reading and was interrupted several times by the judge, by the Council of the Aggrieved Parties, and by others saying it was too much. And the judge really tried to stop him and say, "You have to come to a conclusion now." And then prosecutor said, "No, let him continue, we think this is important." And he was allowed to read all of his 13 pages. And interesting, I think, was listening to him. This is the first time we really get to hear him speak this much. Before we just heard a sentence and two. And it was probably for many people quite surprising to hear how soft, almost nasal voice he had. I mean, he didn't appear dangerous in any way, and it was very hard to see that this soft-spoken man actually is the murderer that killed 77 people.
And he was told to speak up at one point by the judge. He was talking so quietly.
Exactly, he was told up to speak louder. But if we listen to what he actually says, I think we have to say that this is a political speech where he kind of arguing for racial purity. I will summarize a couple of quotes that I think is what he really said in this more than an hour speech. He was arguing or asking people, you know, is it a democracy if the people of Norway haven't been asked if the border should be opened up and if you should transform, as he said, into a multicultural society? And he said this is a civil war to protect the native Norwegians. It's a war against Islam. And he described Norway as a multicultural hell, and he's saying that a violent reaction is the only solution to protect the white native Norwegians. This is his arguments, and also that's why he's claiming to have done this in self-defense to protect the Norwegian people.
And he delved into history, didn't he? I mean, he went back to the Second World War, he brought in Tibet, Enoch Powell's River of Blood speech. It didn't seem to make a huge amount of sense, did it, inside the court?
No, there was a lot of it that didn't make much sense. He ranted through most of history since the Second World War, and at one stage the judge actually stopped him and said, "Can you please concentrate on Norway, not deal with the rest of the world?" And she several times asked him to try to cut out some of the pages and just come quicker to the conclusion. He argued quite strongly to the judge that he wanted to continue and that he had to read his pages. At some stage he even said, indirectly, if I'm not allowed to read this, I will refuse to answer more questions throughout this case. He didn't put it that directly, but that is in reality what he meant. He almost threatened court to be able to read his pages, and at the end he was allowed to read most of it.